Hello and welcome to York Law School. My name's Lawrence Etherington and I'm one of the lecturers at YLS and also the admissions tutor for the school. This is a general talk about the school, how students study here and our admissions process. If you're interested in our approach to study, there are some other talks available, including two that demonstrate the problem-based learning process with an example and illustrate some of the types of research that accompany this to help develop critical perspectives as well as your legal knowledge. And there's also a mini lecture giving another illustration of how students learn here. I will focus quite a lot on our small group focused approach to learning. Although we may face some challenges in using this in the current circumstances, this remains our priority and we have plans to use online means to help with some delivery of this if necessary. So sessions will be on campus where possible and through online alternatives where we must. So in this session, I want to give an overview of what our law school and our undergraduate programs are like. In particular, that means explaining how students study law here and what makes us different to other law schools. We have a short video that I'll take you through to give you a flavour of this. And then I want to give you a brief guide to our careers and development programme at the school, because that's something else that we think is really important. And then, if you think you might want to be a part of this, I'm going to finish by outlining how you get here. But most importantly, I want to encourage you to think very carefully about the law school you want to study at and to make the best decision you possibly can in choosing that. I would very strongly encourage you to get as much information as you can. There are other sources available through this open day event, including asking our students what they think. And if there's an opportunity to visit us in the future, that will also help for you to get a better sense of what we are about. Now, it may be that, having considered all of that information, you decide that York Law School is not the place for you. But if that decision is the right one for you, so long as it's based on sound information, then we are happy with that. What really matters is that we are a good fit for each other, and that's particularly important because of our approach to studying here. On the other hand, I do hope that we will help to persuade, at least some of you, if you need persuading, that what we offer is exciting and innovative and will help to prepare you for the next stage of your life on leaving university. I have to be selective in what I can cover, so I'm not going to try too hard to persuade you that studying law is a good choice. You probably wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't at least considering the possibility. I think law is important, interesting, and I know it's a challenging subject. And the skills developed during a law course are highly valued by employers in the legal profession as well as more generally, which explains the continuing popularity of law degrees with employers of all kinds. So I strongly believe that law is a fantastic subject to study, but I also believe that how you study is just as important. So there are some, maybe important things that reflect what is different about law at York. We're lucky in having some great facilities here, including a first-class electronic library, but you can find out about those kinds of things yourself. We are still relatively young. We've just completed our 12th year of first years, and although we've grown over time, we are still small compared with many other law schools. Our intake each year for the LLB is usually only around 240 students. More importantly, we try to be friendly and accessible, so everyone's on first name terms, and we have no academic titles or airs and graces, and we have a different culture or feel to many other law schools. Much more importantly, our programmes are also organised in a more integrated manner than most, using problem-based learning and focusing on skills development. A really important part of that is that we focus much more on small group work than other schools. You will spend a lot of your time working with the support of tutors in small groups that we call student law firms. And most of that small group work will involve problem-based learning, which we'll look at shortly. So what we've tried to develop is a learning community. That's one where we try to be informal but respectful of everyone. We have academic staff who are experts in their fields, specialist PBL tutors or facilitators, and our administrative staff. But our principle is that we all work together, that's staff and students, as part of one law school. That means we ask a lot of our students, because to make things work, everybody involved needs to be committed and enthusiastic, and in particular, students need to take responsibility for their own learning. So we do ask a lot of you, but we think that if you're going to invest significant amounts of money, and much more importantly, some of what will hopefully be the best years of your life in something, then we think you really ought to be enthused about that and committed in what you do. So in terms of structure, this is how the 3-year LLB is organised by subject or modules. I'm not going to go through all of this, but we'll focus on some of the key features. Although it might look very different, you study the same areas of law, the core legal knowledge and concepts, so things like criminal and property and public law, on pretty much every law programme, what is presently known as the qualifying law degree. And that's no different here. What is different is that at York, the subjects are spread across different modules and across the years. There are 2 specific skills modules in years 1 and 2, which I'll say a bit more about later. And you can see that you choose more of your own subjects, so select areas of law and types of module as you progress. So everything is compulsory in year 1, you have 1 module in year 2 to choose for yourself, and by year 3, all of your modules or subjects are chosen by you, including the subject matter of the dissertation or extended research project. The senior status version of the NLB, that's only for applicants who already have a first degree in another subject, that cuts down the options and a couple of other modules so that it focuses more on the foundation subjects and can be completed in just 2 years. If you're interested in the new law and criminology programme, information can be found through the sociology department. So if the subjects are the same, you might be wondering why those core knowledge subjects aren't separated out into different modules in the way they are at other law schools. There are a number of reasons for this, but the most significant ones relate to problem-based learning as a style of learning. We recognise that in the real world, problems are complex and don't come neatly packaged. They raise issues that aren't limited to single subjects. So if you have a client come to see you who's had a car accident and injured a pedestrian or a cyclist, for example, they don't come to their lawyer and say, "Can you tell me about my negligence or tort liability here? I'm really worried about the compensation I may have to pay and my insurance. But I'm not bothered about the criminal offence I may have committed because I know that's a different area of law." They have a problem and they need someone who understands it and can advise on the legal issues, whatever subject area they may fall under. And actually, the criminal proceedings may have a substantial impact on civil claims in any event. So we try to make our problem scenarios that students use as realistic as we can. And one of the skills we aim to develop is legal awareness, the ability to look at a given situation and identify the legal issues by viewing that through a lawyer's lens, when those legal issues will often not be obvious. So understanding the way that subjects overlap, that single scenarios raise a range of interrelated issues, and understanding problems from different perspectives, these are all key aspects of problem-based learning at York. So to give you some kind of idea of how it works, this is what PBL looks like at York Law School. This is a short video filmed at the law school, and it shows students working collaboratively, exploring a problem together. For filming reasons, it tries to capture a week-long cycle of learning in 90 seconds. And there are also only about half the number of people we would usually have in a group. So the process starts by the group looking at the facts in real detail and with a student leading the session, the tutor providing support for this. The group then analyses the problem in real depth, and in this part of the process, ultimately identifying the learning outcomes or questions they need to research and then answer to understand the problem from legal perspectives, as well as potentially advising a client. So having got to those learning outcomes, the students then undertake their independent study or research, with lectures, guided reading and other materials and activities to provide support for that research. And then after a week or so, having had an interim meeting to see how they are progressing, they then return to feedback on the research and share their views on the questions and issues raised. This might include arguing different positions, helping each other with outstanding questions and so on. The tutor advises them on how well they've achieved those outcomes and any further work that they need to do. So as well as developing that knowledge and understanding, you should be able to see how the process helps students develop a range of skills through taking responsibility for chairing or running sessions and scribing or capturing and sharing the discussion and its outputs, as well as general research and collaborative working capabilities. Some of the other talks that I mentioned at the beginning give a more detailed illustration of how this process works, so it would be a good idea to view those as well if you have the time. Our PBL process is based on the small groups that we call student law firms, made up of around 12 members. Firms choose their own names, design their own logos, as you can see, and decide how they want to operate, setting their own rules within certain limitations. One way or another, these all provide a good support network for students, working together as a group closely throughout the year. Each of these firms has a member of staff, a senior partner, who acts as an academic mentor to the group and also for the individual students within it. And they also have the PBL tutor who acts as a facilitator and guide for the group work. The firms spend a lot of time in the first few weeks working to develop as a group, but then branch out and interact with other firms, representing their different clients and doing things like negotiating between firms. Some do that more collaboratively and others more competitively. So the student law firms provide the foundation for PBL, but they also mean that every student should get to know a group of their student colleagues and also some academic staff colleagues through working together right from the start of their studies. And that's an important part of what we mean by a learning community. So that's PBL, and one of the things about PBL is that it's a form of learning by doing, which is something we think is really important. So we try and have as much of that in the programme as we can. That's generally not just for problem-based learning. Although we focus on small group learning, we do also have a lot of large group lectures, what we call plenary sessions, but we do try to make these interactive where possible. So we try to prompt thought, debate and discussion on key issues, and you'll get a flavour of this if you have a look at the mini lecture. And as well as the PBL sessions, we have other small group focused modules, such as legal skills, where you'll do lots of simulation-based learning. So role-playing things like simulated negotiations, client interviews, client presentations, and advocacy. And we think that these various ways of doing things are a better way of learning and certainly more involving and enjoyable than just watching or listening to lectures for most of your time. So hopefully that should give you an idea of some of the key differences in what you should expect from the law course at York Law School as compared to other programmes that may look similar. And this goes to the heart of the fit question I mentioned at the beginning. Is this what you see yourself doing? Is this how you see yourself thriving, or would you prefer something else? There will be a significant amount of contact time here. Much of that is in small groups with active participation. So you'll spend much of your time here doing things. We do provide support for all of this, of course, but less hand-holding. We try to help you through facilitation, so guidance rather than prescription. And we think that's very important. Because if you leave law school being very good at doing things that you're told to do, that's quite helpful. But we don't think it really prepares you for the future. Because in life after law school, people aren't going to want to tell you what to do all of the time. And hopefully, you won't want to be told what to do all of the time either. One final very important point here is that you learn in groups but are assessed as individuals. So the idea is that this benefits your learning, but performance is ultimately up to you as an individual and not the group. As well as your studies, we know that your career prospects are also a real concern. You can find statistics through the Discover Uni website and elsewhere, giving information on where our students go, and you can compare these with other law schools. We generally do pretty well here, though this varies from year to year, and we can always do better. But we take employability very seriously indeed. We see it as part of our programme, not something that we leave to a central careers department. We're very fortunate in having a large and extremely active student law society who put on great events. But we also have a full-time, very experienced employability tutor on our academic staff. Careers Chris, some other students call him. Chris has developed and runs our own careers and development programme, and that includes organising hundreds of days of work experience, all sorts of activities and workshops, various mentoring schemes, and also providing one-to-one guidance on CVs, interview technique, and so on. Our aim with career support is to enable students to make the best informed choices they can with regard to their future careers, whether that's in the legal profession or elsewhere, and to help put each one in the best possible position to pursue those career aspirations, whatever and wherever those may be. And here are just a few examples set out on the slide of the kinds of places our students have gone on to after leaving us. So that's how you study at York Law School. It's not for everyone, but hopefully you have an idea of what you will be joining and how it's not like any other law school. And because it isn't suited to every student, we have a two-stage application process. So if you want to join us, you'll first need to apply through UCAS, as usual, and then you'll be called for interview if you meet our academic entry requirements. You can see that we have fairly high entry standards, but we try to be flexible where we can, including qualification types and subjects. You can see that we offer some flexibility around the AAA or equivalent A-level grades. We're also fully supportive of the university's contextual admissions policy. We try to be as flexible as we can with the predicted grades we require to offer an interview. Usually this is A, B, B or equivalent. But academic ability is only one, albeit very important part of what we're looking for in applicants. There are some very bright students who may not be suited to law at York, and York may not be suited to them. So we never offer a place on our programmes without the applicant passing the interview. But we aren't trying to catch people out, so as you can see, the information on our website includes our interview guide, which sets out how and why we interview and why we ask the questions about the things we do, including examples of those questions. We interview applicants at the law school where possible, but can do this by online alternatives such as Skype. After that interview, we make offers as soon as we can. If you then agree that we're a good match for each other, you can accept the offer and we'll look forward to having you here when the academic year starts. But for most applicants, of course, there are still those final assessments and results. We can't make guarantees in advance, but we try to be as flexible as we can to find places for those who are near misses on their offers. So if you make us your firm choice, we'll do what we can to find a place for you if you miss your offer. Some years we've had a fair amount of discretion, but in others we've had very little. So as I said, no guarantees, but we'll do what we can. So that's what we do at York Law School, how and why we do it, and how you can get here if you think you might want to be a part of it. A final thing to look at is external recognition, though this is something you can find out for yourself. We know that applicants can take a lot from league tables and other rankings. These are problematic in a number of ways, but there are a couple of things worth mentioning, I think. One is that we do okay in most tables, though we would always like to do better, of course. This varies between tables and from year to year, so that information may be useful, but it's no substitute for doing research yourself, including speaking with current students where you can. The other is that the most recent Research Excellence Framework, which is usually undertaken around every 6 years, so doesn't vary each year, that shows very clearly that we are a properly academic law school. This rates our research in various ways, and our rankings are all in the top 5 for law schools across the country. That's very important because people sometimes seem to think that the learning and teaching approach here means that we don't approach the study of law in a theoretical way, in the way that other Russell Group law schools do. That's certainly not the case, and hopefully this shows that we have world-class researchers teaching on our programme. The way in which we do differ, I believe, is the combination of academic or theoretical approaches together with practical perspectives and development of skills. So study here is designed to develop academic and practical understanding and skills, not one rather than the other. So to finish here, the staff of the law school believe passionately in our programmes and approach. We've tried to develop something that's interesting, innovative and fit for the modern law student. We invest a huge amount of time in interviewing, doing well over 1,000 each year. We're sometimes asked by other people why we spend all of that time doing these when we don't have to. But we never have any doubt about this, because however good the design, however deep the academic rigour, a programme like this is only as good as the students who share in the experience. It's you that makes our law school what it is. Our learning community is about everyone and relies on each and every member to be successful. We've been tremendously fortunate in the students who've joined us so far. Our students have been engaged, energetic and eager to learn, and we want to keep it that way. We need that to continue, and you are our future. So we hope to see you for interviews sometime soon and joining us here in the near future. But whatever you decide and whatever's right for you, we wish you the very best of luck in what will no doubt be a very challenging but exciting and hopefully ultimately rewarding period of your life. If you have any questions, please do ask them. You can use the online chat functions where these are available, or you can email us using the contact details here and also on our website. Thanks for listening.